Hi, my name is Kimberly Brown, and today I will talk to you about social change. This video will give examples on how social change has affected our physical environment, population, innovation, diffusion, and mass media, provide my opinion on how information revolution has changed society and how I feel it will change society in the future, explain how modernization has changed many underdeveloped nations, and lastly, I will list two types of social movements that's occurred in history, why and when they occurred. Social change has changed our physical environment and population by having a significant portion of our population using social media instead of face-to-face conversations. Although the reading states that Facebook users are more socially engaged than non-Facebook users, I would state that Facebook users are not 100% present and living in the moment with the people that are physically surrounding them, because they're being socially engaged with someone online, possibly miles away. Diffusion has been seen in an increased number of Facebook participants. Over 90% of all Americans have a Facebook account or some type of social media account. Innovations in computer technology have changed society from the way we get directions to the way we buy groceries. We don't have to wait in line for the cashier because the self-checkout line is automated. We don't have to use a map for directions because we can use our cell phones to get directions. Mass media has changed to the point where we can't even trust our elections anymore. Foreign countries and governments interfere with our election process through social media and mass media. Mass media, yeah, that's correct, in the form of fake news. Fake news has become the new trend word since 2016. The information revolution has changed society by creating a new social class, those that are computer savvy and those that are not computer savvy. In the quote from Hughes and Kohler, 2013, page 431, computers are revolutionizing the structure of American life, what some have termed the information revolution. There was a time when things could be done without a computer. However, now everything requires a computer or electronic device. Even cell phones are rated by their computer features and not by their phone service. I was in the line the other day and I was listening to these young girls talk. I think they were between 10 and 12, and they were talking about their phones, and one had a dumb phone, they called it, and the other had a smartphone. And she was like, oh, it's worth nothing. It's just a dumb phone. All it does is make phone calls and texts. That's it. That's what a phone is supposed to do. But now it's a dumb phone. Modernization. Modernization has enabled underdeveloped countries to increase their reach across the globe. Now, when we call our cell phone providers, we can very well be talking to someone in the Philippines. This causes a problem in communication due to language, dialect, and culture. I believe the art of excellent customer service is being lost in the modernization of underdeveloped countries. However, underdeveloped countries are increasing their economic growth due to having more job opportunities and exposure to the modern world. Social revolution. I will talk about two social movements in America, the women's rights movement and the civil rights movement. The women's rights movement occurred from 1848 to 1920 to give women the right to vote. I believe this movement is an example of the functionalist perspective, which features a system moving towards an equilibrium state. There was an unbalanced number of voters that wanted to participate in World War I. Therefore, lawmakers believed that giving women the right to vote would add more Democratic votes to continue participating in World War I. From 1910 to 1914, when the National American Women Suffrage Association, the NAWSA, intensified their lobbying efforts and publicly embraced the cause of war, President Wilson argued that women should be given the right to vote. Therefore, the 19th Amendment was approved on August 26, 1920, giving women the right to vote. This victory is considered one of the most significant achievements of women, which resulted in the single largest extension of the Democratic voters in our nation's history. The Civil Rights Movement occurred during 1948 to 1960s, the later part of 1960s, to gain equal rights for Black Americans. The Civil War had officially abolished slavery, but it didn't end discrimination against Blacks, especially in the South. I believe the Civil Rights Movement is an example of the conflict perspective. Conflict theories hold that tensions between competing groups are the basic source of social change. The outcome of the clash between the opposing forces are not a compromise, but an entirely new product. Born out of the struggle, the civil rights was initiated in 1948 by Harry Truman. He issued the Executive Order 9981 to end discrimination in the military. The Air Force was in its beginning stages of development from 1947 to 1949, and the Air Force was becoming its own separate military branch, which was born out of the struggle for equality and had its beginnings without segregation. In conclusion, I gave an example of how social change affected our physical environment, population, innovation, diffusion, and mass media, provided my opinion on how the information revolution has changed society and how I feel it will change in the future, explained how modernization changed many underdeveloped nations. Lastly, I listed 2 types of social movements that occurred in history and why they occurred, all in 6 to 7 minutes. Thank you.